It's time now for the Sports Objective Podcast. No talking heads, just guys who love sports. Here's Dave Richmond.
Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast, our weekend podcast. And with us right now, we have Kyle from the Grange Barber. What's up, dude?
What's going on, dude?
Missed you guys. And there's Bubba Rosenbaum. How are you?
Doing well, and just spending a little family time down at the beach.
We had a little R&R this week, so if people wondering, we normally put out more content, but we're giving everybody, all three of us, need a little R&R. And here we are. What a great week. We've had, certainly, if you're in Pirate Nation, a lot of great things. But first of all, guys, not so great news. We learned of a Pirate, unfortunately, that passed away, right, Bubba?
Yeah, probably you think back to the 2017 season, one of the grad transfers we had that year was Clemson running back Tyshawn Dye. Unfortunately, Tyshawn, he was with some family. I don't recall which lake it was down in Georgia, but unfortunately, Tyshawn drowned on, I guess it was Friday evening, sometime around 5 o'clock. So just terrible news about Tyshawn Dye. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family, and then also his former East Carolina teammates, as well as Clemson teammates, etc.
Yeah, do we have any more details about what happened? I mean, obviously he drowned, but the circumstances surrounding the drowning?
I have not seen anything else yet, as of course, this is midday on Saturday.
Okay. Well, we'll have to find out. If we do find out, we'll certainly pass it along, but certainly my heart broke when I saw that from the fellas. We have one of the things that we always do is we keep in constant communication, just ask our wives. But anyway, we have a group text, and when I saw that last night, my heart just sunk because once a pirate, always a pirate, and regardless whoever it is, sad situation. And so, again, hearts and prayers, thoughts going out to the families, and obviously the Pirate family and Pirate Nation, and, of course, the Tiger Nation as well. So, very sad situation, but hopefully God will lift them up and the family and be there for them through this tough time. It's been certainly the heat wave. I tell you what, Kyle, it's been really rough. I've been wanting to do more stuff outside, but certainly not going so well there. We worked out in the yard about a couple hours. Normally I could work a whole day, but it was just a little bit rough. You're the weather guy, so it's been somewhat a heat wave the last few days this week.
Yeah, it's been hot. At night you can get out and do something. We had a little family get together at my mom's last night. We were outside for a while. Once the sun goes down, it's not bad. It's going to be a little break in that this coming week. Going to have highs in the 80s, some lows in the 60s, so that'll be nice. Get out there. And for the guys out there practicing, obviously official practice hasn't started yet, but the boys are out there working out.
Yeah.
So it'll be a little cooler for them this coming week.
And speaking of getting out there and practicing, how about that new turf practice field? That Pirate State of Mind looks good on the new turf practice field. High field.
Yes, I have to. And it does look good, I'm thinking. Yes, I have to. It does look fantastic.
One of the things, I was going to tell you guys, one of the things I really like is the fact that when you have a guy like Mike Houston, I know somebody said recently, I heard it, they said Mike Houston's a guy that you can't say no to, and I think that's the best way to describe all the great things happening.
Well, you have an AD that, we hadn't had an AD for a while, and then and before that we had an AD that we were better off without having an AD. So
we hadn't had one since Terry Holland's, what you're saying.
Correct, yeah. So Gilbert's getting some things done. You got to wonder, Montgomery, probably did make, maybe, I would hope, made some of these requests, maybe.
He did.
But the AD, Gilbert's come in, and he's working hand in hand with Mike Houston. And, we are spending the money on the right things versus the wrong things. Right. It tends to go a bit further. So getting things done that need to get done is good to see.
And speaking of which, John Gilbert, we're going to have him, by the way, folks, coming up this week. He's one of the big guests we'll have on, and kudos to Bubba for doing that. Speaking of the guests, we've got two big guests today, don't we, Bubba?
Yeah, we do. That's what we're going to be catching up with Erik Bakich, of course, the head baseball coach at Michigan, played for Coach LeClair back in 99 and 2000, teammate of Cliff Godwin, so we'll catch up with him. And we'll also catch up with Ramon Robinson. Who's Ramon Robinson, you ask? He is the private quarterback coach of Mason Garcia, which is the recent commitment, quarterback from down at Carolina Forest High School down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So we'll catch up with Ramon and get the lowdown on the Pirates' most recent highly touted quarterback commitment. One that, for what it's worth, is a 4-star by Rivals.
Yeah,
very
and I'll
excited
tell you
about
what,
that.
talking to Ramon, and we'll hear this later when we get to him. Really gave me Ramon. I'm sorry, I think I called him Ramon. Talking to him really gave me a good feeling that Garcia's going to stick with that commitment. He's got a great attitude, and it seems like I don't know what Garcia's home life is like, but it seems like maybe Ramon is playing a bit of a father figure to Garcia, and looks like he's giving him some very Pirate Nation. When you hear that interview, you're gonna like what you hear about the advice he's giving Garcia about sticking to commitments once you make them and concentrating on classwork.
That's correct, and we'll have us giving a little tease of what's coming up, Bubba. I know that we have a few more items before we get to Ramon.
Yeah, something else talking about quarterbacks is Jared Lorenzen, of course, the big lefty, or the hefty lefty, I should say, that played at Kentucky back in the Hal Mummy days. That's why he unfortunately passed away here in the last few days, guys.
Yeah, I saw that. He looked like he ballooned up even bigger. It looked like he maybe had some infections that he passed away from. I read it now. It's slipped my mind exactly what he passed away from. But being a big guy myself, seeing Jared being around my age, or is my age, 38 years old, it made me think, man, I need to drop some of these LBs. But sad loss. A guy that you remember because he was so large. I remember vividly him playing at Kentucky in that air raid offense of Hal Mummies, and sad to see him go. And wish prayers and good vibes to his family, friends, and former teammates as they grieve his loss.
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments. When you see stories like that, it just breaks your heart when you see, we're talking about Tyshawn die really, really young in his 20s, and you have they were 38 years old. I mean, it's very sad. So we hope and pray that once again, like I was just saying earlier, for Tyshawn, we hope and pray that his family will be lifted up, and certainly through this difficult time find strength and definitely support each other. And it's not an easy time, I know, anytime you have death, but I'm certainly that's still extremely young at 38 years old. So
yeah, it's real young and
crazy.
It's been a down podcast so far here.
Yeah,
except for the Garcia information.
Let's go back to so far. Well, let's talk about Garcia, because I'll tell you what, I'm just
big kid, 6'5", big, strong
220
kid.
pounds.
Yes, he is a physical specimen. Sounds like maybe a late bloomer with his some of his skill sets come along, and he's got some big Power 5 offers towards the end of his recruitment, and some even bigger Power 5 schools were starting to recruit him but hadn't made the offer yet. And he wanted to get his commitment done, concentrate on schoolwork this coming fall to make sure he is academically eligible when it comes signing time. And so he went in and committed to the Pirates. Sounds like him and Donnie Kirkpatrick have a fantastic relationship.
The Pirates are the first.
Yeah, a lot of offers. Not a lot of offers from Power 5 schools in this area. From Myrtle Beach, had an offer from Kit, had an offer from Syracuse, had an offer from Colorado State.
Also, App State.
Coastal Carolina, a few other places, and like I say, Georgia, Alabama, etc. were starting to get on him. They hadn't offered yet, so you'll hear with the interview. In fact, Dave, you want to go ahead? You got anything else to say about him?
I just want something real quick, and then we'll pitch it to the interview. I want to give a shout out to our good friend Stephen Igo. I know on hoistthecolors.net. He obviously, and I know the same thing with also with Mark Lindsay with Rivals. Both guys that do a fantastic job with Rivals, and of course 24/7. Both of them had him coming to East Carolina, and I'll tell you what, guys. Let's play.
Yeah, Rivals has him as a 4-star. Lindsay's site, Pirate Illustrated, has this kid as a 4-star.
And then 24/7 with Igo said that it's 2 points away from being a 4-star. I know, Bubba, we had a chance to talk to his quarterback coach, private quarterback coach, Ramon Robinson. Let's go to Ramon right now. We're very excited to have, as of this weekend, a new recruit, a new commit, right? Right, Bubba?
Yep, Mike Houston and staff added their 16th commitment for the 2020 class, and that is a big one in Carolina Forest High School quarterback down in the Myrtle Beach area, Mason Garcia. And now we're very excited to be joined by his private quarterback coach, Ramon Robinson. Coach, welcome into the show.
Hey, how y'all doing? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Coach. We appreciate you, and certainly we're very excited to have Mason in Pirate Nation. Can you talk about, talk a little bit about him so Pirate Nation can learn more about what kind of quarterback and what kind of kid and person we're getting?
What kind of kid you getting right now? You're getting a kid that's he's been very underrated. There's a lot of things that due to him being underrated, and to where now he's a diamond in the rough that's shining bright right now. And there's no secret to why, schools like Alabama and Georgia and, the Missouris and all those other Power 5 schools like, in Syracuse, was jumping on him. And, he's a kid that, stands 6'5", 220 pounds. You're not going to find a more beautiful, pretty guy like himself. Don't take it the wrong way, but he's something to look at when it comes to, when they say eye candy when it comes to the quarterback position. And he's a kid that, came to me out of his 10th grade year, and just from the referral of one of my other top recruits, Luke Doty, right there in the same, city. Both of them grew up playing Pop Warner football together. And he said, hey, man, you need to get with Coach Ramon. And next thing you know, he got with me. We started straightening out a lot of things with him, not just with, on the field, but in the classroom and just character and everything, man. And just, he just dialed in and just started improving himself overall. Not, like I said before, it's not just on the field, just overall, because a lot of things he didn't understand, and to be honest, the kid don't even really know how good he is. I'll never forget, like, Coach, man, why is all these schools calling me? I was like, what you mean? They want me to say, son, have you ever realized that you're a pretty good damn quarterback? You know what I'm saying? You're a pretty good quarterback. And the thing about this, and he's a humble kid, but at the same time, it's like he's never had anyone tell him, how good he is or where he stands. He's just also just been playing the game, and that's kind of good in some sense, but everybody, regardless of how good you are or not, you always want a little bit of feedback in regards to how you're doing, and what East Carolina's getting, man, they're getting a steal. They're getting a guy, man, that's just, that's hungry to be successful and hungry to come in and help East Carolina build that program back to the old days. Some people look at East Carolina as, they're rebuilding. That's fine, they're rebuilding, but East Carolina plays some good football. And they've always had some good quarterbacks from years past. I've had classmates from my hometown that played there. Greg Floyd played back in the early 90s. Perez Madison, he's my crosstown rival in high school that played quarterback at East Carolina. And I know a lot of guys. I know Jeff Blake. We chopped it up last year. I'm very familiar with the East Carolina program and the history of producing quarterbacks. And it's not a school, some people may want to look, why do you want to go there to play quarterback? Well, some people don't want to go where it's always there. Some people want to be a part of something that they can say that they built, rather than just going into a great program like a Alabama or Clemson. And you understand what I'm saying, the Ohio States of the world and things like that. They want to go somewhere where they can say, hey, I helped rebuild this program. And I feel, and that's one of the main things with Mason. That's what he felt like. That's what he wanted to do. Regardless of the other schools, showing great interest in him. But one thing I had to tell him is, the recruiting doesn't stop. At the same time, you got to stay focused. If East Carolina is what you're going to do, stay firm on your decision. If not, don't make the decision. And that's why he contemplated this a while. As you notice, he said he went from he's going to announce his top 5 to no, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? So no one ever seen what his top 5 was, because he had them set in his mind that, you know what, this is what I want to do, you know, and I want to go play for East Carolina. I like the relationship that Coach Houston has established with me since he's been there, and, you know, that's what you're getting. I mean, you're getting a guy that's ready to come in full steam ahead, and then, you know, as playing as a freshman is in the future for him, he will be ready, you know.
Coach,
sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Coach, as I was telling the guys earlier, inevitably, now that he's committed to East Carolina, like you said, the recruiting's not going to stop. And inevitably, the ACC schools in Carolina, NC State, UNCs, you know, down to the SEC, the Gamecocks, somebody's going to lose a QB commitment before signing day. And inevitably, they're going to look to who East Carolina has verbaled, and they're going to take a strong look at Garcia, and somebody else in this area with Power 5 ties is going to end up offering him. You sound like you think he's pretty firm on East Carolina. I mean, he got a lot of offers, but not a whole lot in this area. Do you think that would be appealing to him, or do you think he's going to be firm on East Carolina no matter what?
Oh, he's firm. He's firm just because, you know, he could have waited. Like I said before, he could have easily went to those other schools and committed and things like that, but he was pretty much, like I said, he started with him telling you he's going to announce the top 5 to the point of he come back days later and say, you know what, I'm going to be committing this day without anything. You know, that said a lot to the program in regards to what he wants to do. Because the thing with him is I wanted him to make a decision, stick with it, and concentrate the rest of the time on leading your team and staying in the classroom and continue to build himself as a student athlete. You got what I'm saying? There's no need to continue. There's no need for him to continue to go on and on and on, dealing with the recruiting process and you know, dealing with the things that he needs to do in the classroom for him to be successful. No, you need to be concentrating on playing, and you already secured the bag. You got what I'm saying? And then everything that looks good ain't always appealing. And everything I always say to him is it has to fit you. You got to go with your gut. If that's what your gut is telling you, then you got to roll with it, you know?
Good deal.
And, Coach, you're in the business. I wanted to add on what Kyle was saying, and you've been there, done that as far as your playing days. You know a lot about recruiting. Recruiting is about relationships. Can you talk about the relationship? We think the world of Donnie Kirkpatrick being the offensive coordinator. He's had a lot of experience over the many, many years of coaching. Can you talk about his relationship with Mason?
Well, he's been in contact. His relationship with him, I've had minimal conversation with him, but he's always called just to check on his progress. But you got to understand, that's where they get into the nitty-gritty of it as far as what they're looking and what they're expecting. But he's always been in direct contact as far as the whole program. The whole program did itself, you know, they did themselves justice by getting everyone involved in regards to showing that, hey, this is our 5-star recruit. You got what I'm saying? This is the guy that we want. And they made it evident that this is the guy that they want. They showed that. They didn't just talk it. They showed it. You know what I'm saying? Some schools may talk it. They may text it or whatever they do. But East Carolina showed that they wanted him to be their guy, and Kirkpatrick just stayed with him the whole time and just telling them, well, this is what you do, this is what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? If you decide to come here, you're our guy. You got what I'm saying? And so it's just more one of those things where this is the guy that they want to build their program around for the next 4 or 5 years, whatever it may be.
Ramon, as you take a look at Mason, you talked earlier about some of his physical attributes. I mean, the kid's 6'4", 215 or 20 pounds, depending on the source. Has very good straight line speed at 4.7 in the 40. But then watching his film, he seemed tremendously accurate and really threw a nice deep ball and seemed to know how to make all the throws or be able to make all the throws. And then also, in addition to that straight line speed, move very well in the pocket and be able to throw well on the run. So talk a little bit about those things because you've obviously worked with him for a couple years or more now.
Right. But like you say, depending on who measured him and so forth, 1 minute he's 6'5", 1 minute he's 6'4" and 5/8", he's 6'4" and a half. Well, you know what? He's 6'5". That's what I say. I say he's 6'5". He's measured in at 6'5", 220 pounds. I mean, the kid he's a monster. He benches 300 pounds. I mean, he's an all-around kid. He's not just getting like you say, it's a normal quarterback. He's a guy that's hitting the weight room hard. And as far as when you're talking about, just the speed, we done got to the point of these days it's categorized as a pro style, categorized as a dual threat. I wish they would just throw it out and just say, hey, this guy knows how to play the game and knows how to run within the game, and that's what he does. He knows how to extend plays. He knows how to use his legs when he needs to, and that's what quarterbacking is all about. It's not about if a quarterback is going to throw it every down or if you got a guy that's running it. It's a guy that can make plays, and that's what it's all about. East Carolina has a quarterback that can make plays with his legs when he's needed and has the size to do it, and at the same time, he can make every throw on the field. I've seen him make it to a 70-yard throws in camp, to 18 back to 16-yard comebacks from the right half or the left half, whatever the coach asks. I mean, and just his whole demeanor and everything about him, man, is just going to continue to get better. And the sky's the limit for this kid. I mean, he's just not busting off some of the best, man. And just they're getting an unpolished gem right now.
Taking a look at the mental side of things and some of the intangibles, you talk about his humility and some of those things and tremendous work ethic. Can you expand a little bit more as far as you think Mason's a tremendous leader, and obviously Coach Houston, he's had an awful lot of success everywhere he's been and really places a big emphasis on character and those sorts of things, and that certainly seems like what the Pirates are getting in Mason Garcia.
Right. Yeah, when you talk about, like you said, just the mental part and the character, like those a lot of things like that I told you before, and like you said before, not knowing or you know what I'm saying, just knowing how good he is per se. And when you say the mental part, I just think the mental part when it comes to the game, the X's and O's, that's only going to get better as he gets more into sitting down when Coach gets back on a regular basis. I can go through the certain things with him, but at the same time, that's his baseline of what he will get once he gets to college. And what he's getting, they're getting a leader. They're going to get a guy that's, he can put the team on his back and he's going to lead how he's supposed to lead through the ups and downs. And character-wise, he's going to be that guy. He knows what to do and what not to do now. And he's taking this role. He's taking it full steam ahead. And like I say, he's looking forward to being a Pirate.
No, I'm good, man. Just glad to have Coach joining us, and really glad to have Garcia commit.
Absolutely,
yeah,
Coach.
And one thing I told Mason, I said, well, now that you committed, I said, what the other job is now, right? And he said, what is that? I said, you got to come into the recruiter that was recruiting you to come to the student. Now you got to go and get out here and start recruiting guys to come play with you.
Absolutely.
Right, yes, sir.
In East Carolina. And that's the other part is, that's why I say, I tell kids all the time, and that was one of the biggest things, when we go back a second, that was one of the biggest things for us when it comes to the decision of making the decision of where you want to go. I say one thing is quarterbacks can't wait forever, like wide receivers and running backs and O-linemen, like on National Signing Day like they used to. That's no good for quarterbacks these days. If a quarterback makes it to National Signing Day and he's able to pick which team it is, guess what? He ain't the number one guy on the board.
Wow. Uh-huh.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not the number one guy on the board because you build your team around the quarterback. And that's why you see college coaches pressing guys, quarterbacks, hey, man, we need a commitment from you. Hey, if you don't, we got to go to the next guy. You got what I'm saying? Because everybody wants to know who their quarterback is. And I feel like now that everybody knows who their quarterback is at East Carolina, because Mason has made a name for himself throughout this recruiting period from the spring to the summer to where he's the hottest unknown quarterback right now in the country. He's the hottest one. Like I said, there's no secret Alabama wants him. There's no secret that Georgia wanted him. And the guys still want it. But at the same time, it's just that they have to build a program that way. You understand what I'm saying? They can't wait till the last minute, and that's what I told Mason. I say, you can sit and wait on those guys, but at the end of the day, you got to go where you can build your squad.
Right.
And trust what's going on. And that's what it came down to, and that's what he felt. And he felt it in his heart to where, you can't just play around. There ain't no National Signing Day for you. There is no hat trick. Hey, pulling it off and all this and that. Oh, man. Game is done. Make your commitment, stick with it, and build your squad.
Yeah, it's good advice to any kid out there that needs to listen to that. But once you quarterback or any position, once you've made your commitment, stick with it, and concentrate on academics and playing.
Right. Yes. That's the thing I was going to mention to you, Coach. We had to let him know we have a situation now where we have one kid, 4-star athlete that we're having locally in Eastern North Carolina. He's trying to get his grades right. We're concerned about that, and that he has one more shot to get his grades right. If not, he'll have to play, I guess, somewhere else. Junior college, somewhere else for a couple of years. So we're praying that he'll work out. But for Mason and other guys coming up that are commits, we're hoping that they'll keep focused. And I know that I'm glad that he has you to keep him focused in the classroom.
Oh, trust me, that's one of the main things, and why he grasped on to me so much, man. Because I saw so much of myself in him. And I had to pour more into him in regards to what to do and what not to do, and to get this situation corrected. Like I said before, they get in a good one, and like I say, hey, schools don't take for 1 or 2 quarterbacks every year. It's not like you play receiver or an O-line. They taking 4 to 5. So in other positions, I say you got some schools gonna take 1, some gonna take 2. Are you gonna be 1 or you gonna be a 0?
Coach, are you on Twitter anywhere? How can folks find you if they want to utilize your services? Do you have a website? You on Twitter?
Yes. I'm on Twitter. My name on Twitter is Robinson_Ramon. That's ROBINSON _Ramon, RAMON.
All right. And Coach, before we let you go, also for people that don't know, you played at T.L. Hanna High School, and maybe people don't know remember the movie Radio, but you played at that same high school, correct?
Hey, that's my same high school. He's from my same neighborhood, East Side. That was my head coach. And the same guys that I talked to you about that played at East Carolina, Greg Floyd and Perez Madison, those guys are from my hometown. Now, Greg Floyd played at my high school, T.L. Hanna High School, and Perez played at the local, at our crosstown rival, which is Westside High School. And, and if you another name too is Cabot Bowman from the movie. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my high school teammate. All of us came out of T.L. Hanna High School.
Oh wow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you talk about your background after T.L. Hanna and your college days?
Oh yeah, T.L. Hanna. I came out of high school. I was one of those kids, like I said. I didn't qualify out of high school. I committed to Clemson University out of high school. Didn't qualify. I got sent to the number 1 junior college in the country at the time was Itawamba Community College in Mississippi. That's where Bill Horn, where Duke Staley played at. Notable names that people would know. I went there for a year. I ended up having a kid. Came out for personal reasons. But I finished up my college career at Benedict College as the all-time leading passer. Went to winter camp with the Redskins. Didn't come through, but I already had signed my contract with the Canadian Football League with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And I left there and I played in the Arena Football League for 9 years, and I was a head coach in Arena Football for 4 years. I started my business, my nonprofit 501c3 sports organization in 2011. And ever since 2011, I've been building up, and I put my first kids in school in 2014. And currently right now, I have 5 kids that graduated from college. 2 that's coaching right now in college. I have 1 that's playing in the pros right now. Chad Kelly's back in the pros. But I will have currently 40-plus quarterbacks that will step foot on college campuses playing football this coming season.
Wow, that's impressive. And, again, how can people, as Kyle was saying, we wanted to mention your background. how can folks get in contact with you if they're looking for a quarterback coach?
You can look me up. My personal, business cell number is 864-437-3391. You can go to EPTFootballAcademy.com and find more information. I'm on Instagram at QBCoachRR17. And once again, on Twitter is Robinson_Ramon.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach. Enjoyed the interview very much. We're very excited. Please give our best to Mason and let him know how proud we are that he chose and honored that he chose East Carolina. It's a big deal. Definitely a big weekend for us. And thank you what you did individually. Actually, Bubba and I Bubba's still coaching. I've coached. So thank you what you did for him to kind of be like a mentor and for many different reasons like life in addition to football. And hopefully we can meet you sometime, I guess, when you come up to a game and see Mason play.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be up with recruiting a couple trips this summer, just during the season with some games. So got to make sure that we contact and get up with each other.
Awesome interview. Thank you so much to Ramon Robinson. What a guy. He was a lot of fun. And I really was sincere at the interview, guys. I really could tell the impact that Ramon had on not only the skill set, not only the things he's been working with Mason on, but just life in general. Could you tell that? He's like you said, Kyle, earlier.
Well, at least from his end now, it's hard to talk Garcia, but at least on his end, it sounds like he has a lot of influence on Garcia, and it sounds like he's giving him good advice to stick with a commitment once you make it. Don't make it until you're ready, and then once you make it, stick with it. And now, concentrate on academics. And your next step in recruiting should be trying to recruit other players to come to East Carolina to play with you. And I love that attitude. I hope Garcia is taking him up on that advice. It's very sound advice, and not just because he's committed to East Carolina. That would go to wherever he committed. And once you give a man your word, it's your word. And
your word is your bond, right?
Yeah, so you need to stick with it. And, unless there's some unforeseen circumstances. Otherwise, you need to stick with it. And it sounds like he's been given that advice, and hopefully he will heed that advice and go have a hell of a senior season. Put up some big numbers down in Myrtle Beach at Forest Creek and
Carolina Forest.
Carolina Forest. Well, what's Forest Creek? I just made that up.
Hey, it sounds like a good school.
It does.
Yeah.
It's out at Carolina Forest.
Speaking of which, by the way, on the other side, I will get your.
Look, I don't live in South Carolina, guys.
Speaking of. You reminded me, guys, I was going to talk about something at the end of the show, but I'm going to give everybody a tease so y'all can think about this before we go to our next interview. Guess what movie today is 25 years old? It's Forrest, so I'm giving you
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump is 25, so if you have some favorite Forrest Gump memories before we
Bubba.
leave. So, Bubba, before we get into Forrest Gump, let's go ahead and get to our next interview. Who do we have?
That's what, obviously, the College World Series ended here about a week and a half ago, and Michigan, what a run they had after being one of the last four into the field. Erik Bakich, Nick Schnabel and company took the Wolverines all the way to the title series in the final game of the best-of-3 series before falling just a little bit shy to the Vandy boys. But excellent season for them, and let's talk to Erik Bakich, their head coach right now.
Well, when you think Pirate baseball, you obviously think this next gentleman, and Bubba, he had a nice run in the College World Series.
Yeah, of course, the College World Series just finished a little less than a week ago, but unfortunately the Pirates came up just a little shy this year, but there was no doubt that Pirate Nation had a clear-cut favorite, and that was the Michigan Wolverines, and now we're very excited to have head coach Erik Bakich on the line. Coach, welcome in.
Hey, thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We were pulling really hard. It was nice to see the number 23 make it to Omaha. And out of the gate, I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on, I know how much you think about Coach LeClair, and we'll talk more about him, but what did it mean for you and Nick to be wearing the 23 in Omaha?
Well, I think about Coach LeClair every time I put the jersey on. I think about Coach LeClair every day I don't put the jersey on. It's just it's something that's ingrained in every fiber of my body. It's who I am. It's why I got into coaching, and I know Nick Schnabel feels the same way. Cliff Godwin feels that way. Bryant Ward feels that way, and even the guys who aren't coaching but played for Coach LeClair feel that way. Just he made everybody a better person And so it was a tremendous privilege and an honor to wear 23 in Omaha. I know the Pirates are going to be there, and Coach Godwin is the guy to get them there. There's no doubt about that. And we talk about that. We talk about if we could have the stars align and the four of us who wear number 23 for Coach LeClair to all be in Omaha together, I don't think there would be anything greater than that.
Like you say, Coach, and that was one of the things this year. Obviously, you guys had to do what you had to do, but I was disappointed a bit when I saw that you guys would be meeting with UCLA in the Super Regional should you both advance, which you obviously did.
Yeah, we're all on a group chat together. The four of us plus John Williamson and Chad Tracy and Garrett Blackwelder, who was a basketball alum. And we talk daily, but we said the silver lining with that, with the way the selection show went and the pairings, is we knew there would be at least one number 23 in Omaha. So we all felt good about that. It was tough to have to play Bryant Ward and his team, just to know that that they wouldn't be able to advance and he wouldn't be able to advance, but. Yeah, we're hoping the stars align someday and all four of us can be there.
No doubt about it. Coach, taking a look at this season, and then we'll talk more about your time as a Pirate. But your club has won. This is your 7th year there at Michigan, and you certainly challenged yourself with your non-conference schedule. You had a non-conference series down at Texas Tech, who, of course, was the number 8 national seed, and you beat those guys twice in Omaha. And then you also went out and played the likes of UCLA, USC, Oklahoma State. So talk a little bit about your season as a whole. And it really surprised me that it came down to you being one of the last 4 in, because I thought it should have been a given.
Yeah, that was something we learned from Coach LeClair as well. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And we played great schedules at East Carolina. I remember, in 1999 playing Miami and playing Georgia, and North Carolina and Virginia. And, we always had a tough schedule. Always played the likes of the ACC and any other team that would play us and line up in front of us. But I thought those were tremendous opportunities for growth for our club this year to go down and kind of butt kicked at Texas Tech. It just gave us a barometer of where we needed to be in order to compete at the highest level. And so we realized we were overmatched at times with some of the power arms that Texas Tech had coming out of their bullpen, and we needed to get better. And that's exactly what our guys did. We lost 2 or 3 at the Dodgertown Classic. We got swept at Texas Tech, and our guys really put their heads down and had their focus on growth and just making sure that every day there were small increments of improvement that were made, and it culminated with getting really, really hot at the right time and playing our best baseball at the end of the year.
It certainly did, and as you take a look at things, in your Michigan program, obviously you have a lot of resources at your disposal, but that's a program that down through the years has had success in baseball, but had not been to Omaha, I guess, 35 seasons, and in the Big Ten, and not played in the title series since 1966. So talk about what it was like doing something that hadn't been done in a long time, both at your school, and then also for your conference.
Sure. Well, yeah, the baseball program here, the heyday was in the 1980s. We in a 10-year span in the 1980s. The program went to 9 regionals, won 7 conference championships, and went to the World Series 4 times. And that's when you had players like Barry Larkin and Chris Sabo and Hal Morris and Jim Abbott and Mike Ignaziak and Scott Kamenicki and just a lot of great, great players. I mean, so many others I'm not even naming. Casey Close and Ken Hayward and so many others. And since that time, the success has just been very sporadic. It's been inconsistent. There's been a lot of coaching changes, and there's been pockets of success, but just nothing that's been sustained. And so what this run did is it just inspired a lot of generations and a lot of decades of Michigan baseball alumni that you had guys from the 1953 national championship team. There's 4 of those guys that are still alive. a bunch of guys from the 1962 national championship team, players that played in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and then after the turn of the century. It just united and rallied a lot of people to get excited about the baseball program, to see something that hasn't been done in 35 years. And, you know, what we talk about is leaving a legacy and it being bigger than 50 wins or accolades or success and statistics. It's about inspiring future generations of Michigan baseball players in our program. And that's what our older class, upperclassmen, our seniors, they really wanted to leave the jersey in a place where the incomers, the newcomers, guys that are coming in down the road can look at their success and see that there's a new benchmark, a new standard of what this program can do, and have something to aspire to, if not surpass it. And that was the exciting thing, is the feeling now that our program has a chance to sustain a level of success that hasn't been seen in a long time. And we needed to do something magical in order to captivate the enthusiasm of all those generations of alumni and 6-7 decades of people that, you know, haven't had a whole lot of Michigan baseball success to cheer about. And that's what that run did. It was so much more magical than the fact that, you know, we finished second in the country. It's that people are genuinely excited about our program again and want to get behind it, which is a really cool thing, because that's what we need. We need everybody that's a fan of Michigan baseball to support our program and get behind it, so that we can look for the program growth that we would like to have.
Coach, I had a question as far as rebuilding the program, and I know you're talking about the 80s being like a heyday or glory days. First of all, it's like a two-part question. Like, how did you go about rebuilding the program, number one, and how much of an impact did Coach LeClair have on rebuilding the Michigan baseball program?
Well, Coach LeClair was an unbelievable program builder. I mean, just being a part of his first recruiting class and the infusion of talent, you know, that we had with some California JUCO guys, but, you know, a shortstop like Lee Delfino, a first baseman like Chad Tracy. You got some players in place that are phenomenal players like right fielder John Williamson, Steve Solargo, you know, Jason Howard, the catcher. I mean, you had young talent on the roster that were just waiting in the wings. You know, guys like Cliff Godwin, who were just breakout stars that, you know, towards the end of their career, they just were tremendous leaders on the team. Guys like Bryant Ward that, you know, once they got their shot to play, you know, their sophomore, junior, senior years, they were just fantastic players. And just to, you know, to see that model of building a program with high school kids, infusing it with a few junior college players to fill some voids or plug some holes, and just seeing how the target wasn't necessarily on talking about this drill or that drill or this result or that result or even winning, so to speak. It was just to get a group of guys to buy into a concept of working as hard as you possibly can, putting out 100% effort every practice, every training session, challenging the group mentally and physically to blow past what they thought their limitations could be and develop a mental toughness amongst the group that made them think they were invincible, made them have a level of confidence they didn't even know was possible. That's where Coach LeClair was his best, and that's what he did with our group. And he got a bunch of, you know, good players, but collectively all those good players pulling the rope in one direction did amazing things, and I'll never forget that. And that very much is a huge part of the blueprint of the programs we've tried to build at Michigan.
Coach, during one of your in-game interviews at the College World Series, you talked about your recruiting philosophy, and you said that you want your roster makeup there at Michigan to resemble the United States of America. So, and that received a tremendous response on social media and so forth. So talk a little bit about that, and And I know at least one recruiting class, if not multiple recruiting classes, have been ranked in the top 10. So while you're maximizing your talent, you're certainly bringing in plenty of talent as well.
Well, baseball's become a very expensive sport, and it costs a lot of money to be on select travel ball teams. It costs a lot of money to attend showcases. It's a sport that, you know, is pushing kids out of other sports, and guys are specializing in baseball at a younger age, which I think is a mistake. And so when you're at a school like Michigan or like Vanderbilt that has institutional resources like need-based financial aid, not that we have a lot of it, but we have a little bit. And I think when you have opportunities like that, whether you're a school that has need-based financial aid or you're a school that's got academic merit scholarship money, or you just have any way possible to stretch your 11.7 scholarships, I think you have a responsibility to go out and find the very best talent and the very best athletes you can possibly find. And whether they're from inner cities or whether they're from out in the middle of the country, it really doesn't matter. It's about finding kids that maybe couldn't afford a partial scholarship and a high cost of attendance on their own, and finding ways to reduce that cost of attendance, whether you have institutional resources or whatever you may have. And so that's what that was about, and we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. And I was able to do that under Coach Corbin when I was the recruiter at Vanderbilt. And it just so happened that, you know, both of our programs have a lot of minority players and a lot of diversity on the roster. I think that's an amazing thing and an awesome thing. And that's really a credit to the school for allowing those opportunities. And the programs that have it, and you have the opportunity to uncover every rock, turn over every stone, and find the best athletes around the country, you know, that's what it's about. It's providing opportunity for kids, because there's a lot of good players. It's a big country, and there's a lot of good baseball players. And we just so happen to have a couple of football players that would be playing football for Division I schools, but circumstances have happened and pushed them to baseball, and we were able to find those guys, and they were two of our best players. And I just think there's a lot of great athletes that end up making their way to the football field or the basketball court, and if we can keep some of these guys on the baseball diamond, it'll be better for college baseball. It'll help grow our sport. So it doesn't apply to all schools, doesn't apply to all 297 Division I schools, but the ones that can stretch their 11-7, I think there's a lot of great athletes out there, and you just got to look.
Coach,
no doubt about it.
Coach, I have one question, too, because obviously you built the program. I was disappointed, and I've been very vocal about it on this podcast and also podcast about the decision for not allowing potentially hire a third, I guess it's a third assistant coach. I wanted to get your, can you talk a little bit about that, about your feelings about that, because you're in the big stage, so to speak, coming off the College World Series?
Yeah, sure. I thought it was an opportunity missed. I thought it was an opportunity to grow our sport, to make our sport a little bit better. Right now, we have 4 coaches. We have 3 full-time paid assistant coaches, a head coach and 2 assistant coaches, and then you have this volunteer coach. But the volunteer coach isn't recognized in our ratio of student-athlete to coach ratio. And so we actually are only counted as having 3 coaches. And the volunteer coaches typically are not paid. If they are paid, they're paid through summer camps. But the majority of what they're doing is they're working other jobs, and they're giving lessons. And a lot of these guys have families. And so what it does is, if these guys were able to have a salary, then they would be able to go recruit, and they would also be able to invest their time more with the student athletes that we have. In our situation as a northern program, we have to push our fall schedule up and start earlier in September. And this is Midwest and Northern baseball. This is half the country is starting their fall programs early in September because that's when the better weather is. And you got a bunch of tournaments and showcases during this same exact time. And what ends up happening is the recruiting coordinator and the pitching coach typically are off scouting and recruiting at all these tournaments, and the head coach and the volunteer coach are at home running the training sessions with the team. And this is prime developmental time. And it would be so much better if the pitching coach could stay home and work with the pitching staff. The hitting coach could stay back and work with the hitters, and you could send this other person to be able to go out and take a look and scout and evaluate players. That's just a benefit from a baseball standpoint. But from a human standpoint, these guys are working the exact same hours. Actually, they're working more hours because they have to find other means of financial support to support themselves and support their families. They can't just rely on summer camps. So a lot of these guys are given lessons late at night. So they're actually putting in more hours than anybody else. And it's just not the right thing to do. You got an opportunity to give a guy a salary and some benefits and allow him to be better for your program, be better to just serve your student athletes, to be able to recruit future student athletes. I just think it was an opportunity missed. I think it's the right thing to do to pay that guy. I think that as big as our game is getting and as much as it's growing, we have 3 coaches and a volunteer coach for 35 players. That's just not right. That's not enough. So I hope it gets revisited in the future. There's a lot of people, a lot of coaches and student athletes who have spoken out against it. There's been different reasons for why it wasn't passed and some ambiguity in the language. The addition of adding softball to it. There's a lot of reasons. I was actually on the committee for it, and they told us that we had to have softball attached to it for gender equity, or it wouldn't ever start. And another, from a tactical standpoint, softball, their biggest issue that they are pushing for is more scholarships. And we actually thought if we could tie ourselves and connect ourselves on some legislative issues with softball, that may open up some inroads for baseball getting more scholarships down the road too. But it didn't happen that way, and it's unfortunate. But, we're baseball players and baseball coaches, and we're used to having to pick ourselves up and dust off and move on. And that's what we'll do with this one. Luckily, it's not a dead issue because people are still talking about it. And I look forward to this topic staying at the forefront of college baseball so we can continue to revisit opportunities to make it happen in the future.
Coach, before we move on and talk about your time in the purple and gold, I have one more Michigan-related question for you. And so you obviously would not have been where you were without having a very well-rounded ball club. And you had the Big Ten Player of the Year in Jordan Brewer, a guy who hit right at .330, hit with power, drove in nearly 60 runs, and then also stole 25 bases. But then you have a pitching staff with 2 12-game winners like Carl Kaufman and Tommy Henry. So talk about the job that Chris Fetter, a Michigan alum, and then a guy that had experience in the Dodgers organization, that he's done with your pitching staff.
Well, I would credit both of our assistant coaches on this one. I mean, Nick Schnabel is the reason why we get to coach all of these great players. He goes out and scours the country and finds them. And what Chris Fetter has meant to our program, I don't even know if it can be put into words. The guy is just an elite human being. He is the best developer of talent of pitchers that I have seen. He pours his heart and soul into this pitching staff. You cut him open and he bleeds maize and blue. It's so important to him. He cares so much. His care level is off the charts, but he comes every day and looking to improve those pitchers. And he, coming from the Dodgers, he has a very advanced understanding of data science and analytics, and he can speak that language. But one of his best skill sets is he can take the data of what the ball is doing and how it's spinning and how it's moving, and he can take a video analysis of how a pitcher is throwing, and then he can speak and relate to our players in a way that makes it simple for them to understand the adjustments they need to make in order to maximize their performance as a pitcher. I've never heard some of the language, and it's very advanced. I've had to personally, make a concerted effort to try to understand, because it's just, these guys are very sharp, and he has a unique background with this. But to be able to take an 18 to 22-year-old kid and to be able to simplify the technology in a way that allows them to manipulate how they throw and any mechanical adjustments they might need to make, how their hand is placed on the ball, and how they throw the ball, and to see it work and to see it become an asset for them and for our team in game settings. We set out before the year and we discussed, how can we be an Omaha team? And we thought we would need to have 3 pitchers that logged 100 innings each. And sure enough, we got unbelievable starting performances from Carl Kaufman and Tommy Henry and Jeff Criswell. And those were 3 guys that Chris Fetter shut down in the fall and worked with every day on helping build their bodies from a strength and conditioning standpoint, and also from a pitch design standpoint to help them be the best starters that they could be, knowing that's what we needed in order to be an Omaha team. So I can't say enough for our assistant coaches. I feel like we're surrounded by incredible people, and we're certainly lucky that they're on our staff.
Coach, moving now to talking about your days in the purple and gold in Greenville, can you talk about how you became a Pirate? And obviously we've been talking about how important number 23 and Coach LeClair, but can you talk about how you recruited, why you picked the Pirates, and your career?
Well, before I got married and had kids, I used to say I would give anything to be a college baseball player at East Carolina forever. I still feel that way, but I love my wife and my kids, but there's no amount of money, and I'm talking billions, trillions. There's no amount of money that could be put in front of me, and someone would say you can have all this money if it meant you had to erase your experience, your 2 years at East Carolina, and the relationships and friendships that you made. It's just, for me, it is totally priceless and invaluable. I came to East Carolina. I committed sight unseen, and so did Nick Schnabel, and so did James Molinari. And we bought into a vision, and it was Coach LeClair's vision of what the program could be. He's talking about Omaha on the phone, 3,000 miles away, talking to some, JUCO kids that think they're hot stuff, and we could just hear it in his voice, and just wanted to be a part of it. So we committed without even seeing Greenville, without even seeing Harrington Field, without even seeing the campus, just because we knew we wanted to feel and taste and experience what Coach LeClair was talking about. And once I got there, I came into school as a business management major, and it was twofold. I got to meet Coach LeClair and spent a little bit of time with him, and knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to coach. The other part of it is I had an accounting professor. I couldn't understand what this guy was saying. He talked so fast with such a thick accent that I just thought, I'm going to fail all these business classes, so I better change my major to exercise science. But it was all Coach LeClair, and I just knew I wanted to do what he did. And then afterwards, just seeing how he molded the teams that we had in 1999 and 2000, and just to see that tight-knit circle, a group of guys who still have to this day an unbreakable bond, and then to watch, Coach LeClair begin the biggest fight of his life with his battle with ALS, and to see how he did that, and to think that he still found a way to write articles and letters and send daily devotionals via email and still inspire people, still coach people, still impact people in a very positive way. It just solidified that, we were just surrounded by one of the greatest men that had ever lived. And so we all made the commitment to Coach that we would continue his inspiration and continue his legacy. And to me, that's what wearing the number 23 is about. It's not about actually being in Omaha. It's about imparting the Omaha way of life to every player that we get to coach. And being an Omaha person and giving an Omaha effort is what Coach LeClair was all about. It was about being your best, being your toughest, being the best you could possibly be. That's what Omaha is about. And so I want every player that I get the opportunity to coach to have the same experience that I had playing for Coach LeClair. And every player, whether it's been at Vanderbilt or Maryland or now Michigan, every player knows who Coach LeClair is. Every player runs the Keith LeClair 300s every Wednesday for Mental Toughness Wednesday. It's just who we are. It's ingrained in every fiber of our body. And I wouldn't change anything.
When I think about those years, of course, in '98, before your arrival, Coach LeClair's first season, and with him establishing his culture, that's what we were right around 500. But then things really exploded from there. Those two number one seeds that you talked about, and unfortunately not being able to host, and then having to go down to LSU and Lafayette those back-to-back seasons before being able to host the year after you were gone in 2001.
Yeah, that was part of our story is, Harrington Field wasn't suitable for hosting a regional. And I remember being in Coach LeClair's office and seeing schematics and, some drawings and some poster boards. And I knew that the facility was something, having a new stadium was something that was on his mind. And we all knew he had opportunities to leave, but he decided to stay and continue to build. And, that's something I've drawn a lot of inspiration from as well. And now to see the facility that exists, Clark LeClair Stadium, and to see the fan base, what the only silver lining of not making the postseason last year was that Jiffy, my wife, and our three kids, we got on an airplane and went to Greenville for the regional, and to see that place packed to the gills and thousands and thousands of people all cheering for East Carolina, and to see how Coach Godwin, how Cliff has elevated that program now to where Omaha is a realistic expectation, and to be 90 feet from Omaha a few years ago at Texas Tech, and being in super regionals and hosting regionals every year. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when they're kicking that door down. And it is going to be one of the most amazing things ever, because the entire Pirate Nation is going to be in Omaha, and, all of us included, and just can't wait for it to happen. And it's going to happen.
No doubt in my mind. Dave, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask Coach about your relationship with Coach Godwin. When you were talking about that, I just remembered about a week or so ago, he was talking about getting on a plane, coming to be there with you in Omaha. And I know it sounds corny, but it was almost like he was your brother. I know he, technically is not your brother, but it was almost like he was your brother, the way he was proud of you and the way he was talking on local radio. And it just made me proud to think about what kind of program that Coach LeClair had created way back when, that a guy that's coaching in Greenville now, that y'all are still close after all these years.
Well, he is my brother, and we don't have the same parents, obviously, but to think that a guy from Snow Hill, North Carolina, and a guy from San Jose, California can end up feeling like they are brothers, 20 years later, is a testament to how Coach LeClair molded that team, and how through our mental toughness training and through building championship teams, he created unbreakable bonds and tight inner circles and friendships. We all consider ourselves, best friends, the best of friends. we're all getting together this winter. We're all going on vacation together with all of our families, 31 total people. It's just, that doesn't happen everywhere. And to think that there's 6 former players that continue to talk multiple times a day, every day, and that's the benefit of modern technology with WhatsApp and group chats and so on and so on. But still, we, even before smartphones, we would call each other all the time. I know Coach LeClair is extremely proud of that. Coach LeClair's wife, Lynn, and daughter, Audrey, made it to Omaha as well. And, I'm just so proud that they could see a part of Coach LeClair in Omaha, and to see both Nick and I on the field at the same time wearing number 23, and then knowing that UCLA is going to get there with Bryant Ward, and East Carolina is going to get there with Coach Godwin and with Cliff. And it's awesome. There's nothing better. So none of us would be where we are today without Coach LeClair.
Coach, you've been very generous with your time, and we certainly appreciate it. But before we wrap this up, I did want to ask you one more question, and that is about another member of Coach LeClair's staff during your time in Greenville, and that's George Whitfield. He's an Eastern North Carolina legend. He's a North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame member, and we're going to have Coach Whit on the show soon. I know he was out there supporting you guys in Omaha. So what does Coach Whit mean to you?
I can't believe we've talked for 30 minutes and we haven't talked about Coach Whit yet.
Yeah.
He was one of the pieces of glue that united our team, held our team together. I mean, this is a guy that's retired from a Hall of Fame high school coaching career, that's volunteering his time to be an assistant coach for Coach LeClair and for our program. And you could take the energy and the enthusiasm of all 35 players, and it still wouldn't match what Coach Whit brought every single day. I mean, he had electricity coming out of him that still is talked about to this day, just when he would get fired up and how he would fire up the troops. And to see him still going strong at 80-something years old and still getting us, putting his arm around us, getting us in a headlock, telling us, how he's fired up and how he's proud of us. There hasn't been many people like Coach Whitfield on God's green earth that have impacted 5 decades of baseball players more than he has. And everyone who's come across and been impacted by Coach Whit, they remember him, because he is one of those guys that you want to be like him. You want to match his energy, you want to match his enthusiasm, and you just hope that one day people will talk about you the way they talk about him, with the utmost respect and reverence. And he was truly a special piece to that coaching staff.
Coach, thank you so much. I just want to say, for all of us in Pirate Nation, we're very proud of you and Nick and everybody there. I appreciate all that you're doing for the student athletes. I have a son and so does Bubba, that we got about 10 years or more before the recruiting process, so to speak, in basketball and baseball. But thank you for all that you're doing. What an incredible run. And we look forward to seeing you down the road. And next February, I know that you have some time. There's no off season, but enjoy yourself. And thanks for being on the podcast with us. Anytime. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Coach. Man, he was fantastic and a great guy, and good luck to him. And I tell you what, he bleeds purple and gold. That was very evident by his comments about East Carolina. Of course, Coach LeClair, Michigan, built that program up, and I just have a feeling, guys, he's going to get another raise. He got a raise. I think it was Bubba and I were talking about last week.
It's a great testament to Keith LeClair's legacy in East Carolina, to see what he's doing in Michigan. It's a Pirate out there doing well, and it's good stuff. Really good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, before we close out the podcast, was just teasing it before that interview about Forrest Gump at 25. You got any memories? I gave you enough time. I gave you like 38 minutes here or so to think about some Forrest Gump memories
Do you have any favorite lines? Do you love the movie? Do you hate the movie? Do you love the soundtrack? What do you got?
Well, Dave, not to expose our business, but you really didn't give me 38 minutes. That's a bald-faced lie.
Well, you're supposed to play along. I know
okay.
that.
Favorite memories from Forrest Gump. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. What comes to mind, and this isn't going to surprise you at all, but one of my favorite memories of Forrest Gump is.
Did you take a girl there on a date? Is that
no. That's Titanic. When Titanic's anniversary comes out, like we're at the 20-year anniversary of Titanic, or was that 98? Whatever.
97.
But I saw it in 99. I got a great story about Titanic. But anyway, Forrest Gump, when his mom wants Forrest to be able to go to public school. For that boy, what is she? Something like the principal comes out of the house. Your mama sure does care about your learning, son.
Yeah, your education. Yeah, she sure does care about your education.
And then Forrest starts just going, that's one of the moments. Run, Forrest, run. I mean, obviously, when Bubba and Forrest are talking in Nam or on the way to Nam, and Bubba is listing all the different kinds of shrimp. That's a classic part. Just simple little things, that evidently Forrest Gump was responsible for in this universe, like the smiley face yellow T-shirt, and shit happens bumper sticker. Those little things like that kind of get forgetting about the movie, but in that world, Forrest was responsible for those things.
Yeah, I love when he's at the White House.
I got to pee.
He said, I drank about 15 Dr. Peppers. And he said, I got to pee. And then when he said, what was it, when he was there with LBJ and he said he had the $1 million wound, and he said, I'll show you.
Yeah, he mooned
LBJ. And then all the different, certainly the historical pieces, the movie, as far as the soundtrack, there's so many great songs.
Hey Dave, I ruined your roommate's bathrobe.
He said, I'm sorry I messed up your Black Panther party.
Yeah, that's another great one, yeah.
There's so many great lines, and I love Tom Hanks. What about you, Bubba?
Like y'all said, so many great lines. I guess if I had to choose one or two, it would be where they had what was supposed to be Bear Bryant. They were practicing. And then all of a sudden, Forrest Gump runs through the middle of the field. He said, "Who in the HELL is that?" And then
just some local idiot.
Yeah, that's Forrest Gump, some local idiot. And then later on, they were playing what appeared to be Tennessee, and so he ran all the way across the field, and then they were pointing him toward the end zone, run that way, and then he says. After he scores a touchdown, and then they have to throw up the stop sign to keep him from running up the tunnel. They said he has to be the stupidest SOB alive, but he sure is fast. Started laughing.
That's great. That's great. And then I love when he actually started. They asked him, "Did you run for world peace?" He said, "No, I just felt like running." I don't know if you remember that. And the shrimp boat.
Yes. Yep. Lieutenant Dan, you got legs, magic legs.
You were supposed to leave me out on the battlefield like everybody else, like all the rest of his family.
Well, that's in the end, when he comes to Forrest and Jenny's wedding and he's walking.
Exactly.
Yes. You got legs.
I love when he asks, speaking of Lieutenant Dan, one of my favorite parts is when he looks at in Vietnam and he looks at both Forrest and Bubba and ask them if they were related. Are y'all relations?
You two relations? Alabama, huh?
You boys twins? He said, and then Forrest said, we're not relations.
Yeah.
But it's a good, wholesome movie. Apparently they had to tone down the original screenplay from the book and all that stuff. And so Robert Zemeckis, the great director, of course, winning 6 Academy Awards, and it was including Best Picture, Tom Hanks winning Best Actor. It just
they never say in that movie, but I assume Jenny has HIV. That's what she dies of as AIDS. Yeah. But they never say that in the movie for sure. You just know she's sick.
Yeah, it's true. That is. I know they don't say in the movie, but that was one of the ways they handled that tough. Of course, she died, I think, in 1982. one of the great things about that movie is we always joke about continuity for our show to make sure things are pieced together right, because we don't always do the show live. And they one of the hardest parts for me for that movie, still after 25 years later, if you're married to someone like all three of us are, is when she dies, and he said that you died on a Tuesday or something like that. But if you look at the tree, the actual date that she died was not on that. So there's all kinds of things like that they messed up. But having said all that,
wow, okay,
it's a great movie, and I wanted to mention,
part of that movie was filmed in Grandfather Mountain.
Yeah, and they also where Greenbow, Alabama, is actually a town in South Carolina. In case you guys didn't know that. And of course,
it seems like that's something I forgot now that you say that.
I can't think of the name of the town, but it was definitely in South Carolina. They shot a lot of it. And then, of course, Savannah, when he goes to visit Jenny. So, anyway, I didn't want to...
He is running, and he runs up the part where he's in the mountains running. He's running on Grandfather Mountain.
He does. I love, like I said, I think my all-time favorite actor is Tom Hanks, so... huge fan. One of those moments where I would be starstruck if I ever met him. So there's not many people that I would be that.
And right now, as we speak, Dave, to tie that together, Bubba is taking his kids as we speak right now to see Toy Story 4, which is of course starring Tom Hanks as the legendary Woody.
Nice, man. You guys you impress me more and more every day that's a nice segue in the business, and we need to wrap things up. Before we go, guys, can't wait. Less than 2 weeks away, we're going to be at Giddy Up Coffee for Friday morning football. Cannot wait. I was there just yesterday. The ladies are actually ordering more coffee because they know that we bring a huge crowd, and being my hometown and Kyle's hometown.
They're ordering more coffee for us, huh?
Yeah, exactly. They want to
Where Dave Richmond goes, the people follow.
That's right.
It's not about me. It's
a cult following, folks.
All three of them. I pay them well. I don't know, Kyle, if you can make it on the 19th, but we're working on that. And is that are we doing that? The first one on a Friday? It's the 19th Friday. It is.
It actually is.
Okay. I may be able to, may not. I'm definitely going to make it at least one or two of them in August. Okay. After that, I'll be joining you by phone.
Oh, I know. I just want you to feel, and the same thing with Bubba, I want you all to feel welcome. And it's an old, for the people that don't know, I want to say this quickly and we'll wrap it up. It's an old KFC if you have never been to Williamston, or you were back in the day. It's an old KFC that Laura Lynn, she actually, the owner, she had just a quick story. We'll talk about that on Friday Morning Football. But she actually had her first location was in Washington, home of the great Pirate Owl, Alan Powell. And they actually, and all our good friends there in Washington, they had a location there. She found out a lot of people were going to that location in Washington, including, she lives in Kyle will know, the Farm Life area of Williamston in Martin County. And so people were from Farm Life, and then all of a sudden people found out in Williamston about her great coffee. They were going there. She said, hey, if all these people are going from Williamston, this is words right out of her mouth, then why don't I open a location in Williamston? So they wanted to go so far. And sure, lo and behold, last July, the end of July of 2018, she opens up her latest location in Williamston, and the rest is history. So I want to give her a shout out. And they actually have, by the way, guys, if you come, they actually have free shot Friday. You can get a free shot in your coffee on Friday. So that's our big deal.
Is that Jim Beam, Crown, whatever whiskey you want?
Well, it won't be Jim Beam after all those gallons that we lost, unfortunately, a few days ago, that big fire they had.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that.
No, to answer your question, they don't have alcohol.
Oh, well, you said shots. I've been in that building many times back in the day, man, when it was a KFC right there on 64.
Yep.
Many times, but I have not been in there since it's been remodeled to Giddy Up Coffee. But like I say, it's when you posted a picture from in there of looking out the windows, immediately, it's got that 1970s, early 80s KFC look to those windows.
Yes, it does.
And I immediately took me back to my childhood, being in there, growing up, getting food, and I was nostalgic just looking at the picture, looking out the window.
I had to let y'all have a little sneak peek since you guys are part of the team. I wanted to give you a little feel of what it's like, and certainly that's where we're going to be setting up to be away from everything. It's kind of like our little party private room there. So I want to thank Laura Lynn and everybody there. The ladies are very friendly. They've got so many great choices. They even have like bagels and danishes and stuff. So hopefully everybody in the Williamston area, including...
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's just, and then we'll wrap this thing up and I'll quit rambling. But, growing up in Williamston, Dave, you're originally from Durham. You moved to Williamston. How old were you when you moved to Williamston?
1985.
Okay, well, it may have not have been a big shock to your system being 12. You weren't a teenager yet. But maybe.
It was.
Okay, it was. Well, you knew how, I don't want to say backwoods. I don't want to sound insulting. It is where I'm from. But in 1985, when you first moved there, you couldn't get anybody in Williamston to eat a damn bagel. I would venture to say at least 70% of the people in Williamston in 1985 had never had a bagel. And that's funny you say, there's a place in Williamston that serves bagels on a daily basis. It just kind of shows you how the world's grown and, everything. The world gets smaller all the time, and people are just in general more open to trying things. And bagel certainly isn't a foreign concept to people in Eastern North Carolina anymore.
And guys, since you were local, you may be able to answer this. I know you don't live right there in Greenville, but being local, you probably know the answer. I know Boulevard Bagel is somewhere that was around for years, and I actually ate there a time or two when I was in town and that sort of thing. Do they move or do they shut down?
Well, what happened is the original owner, and maybe he can come on, and he's actually been a part of our podcast, because our great friend Bethany Bratcher, he was in partnership with someone else in Boulevard Bagel, and I don't know if they've gone that. He actually went out on his own. They had falling out, but he actually is in Fire Tower. They actually, if you love that Boulevard Bagel stuff, they actually are a bagel man that's on Fire Tower Road, closer to where the Fire Tower end of where it's actually Charles Boulevard, but people know it better as the Bells Fork area. So it's that end of Fire Tower. There's a whole bunch of strip malls there. That end past where the movie theater, speaking of movie theaters, it's past Arlington, between Arlington and it's between Arlington and Bells Fork. I'm trying to get in my head the geography, but Bagel Man, just look it up, Google it. But that's, if you want that kind of stuff, they're a new business, new owner, not new owner, but it's not Boulevard anymore. So
okay, gotcha. It's called Bagel Man, but do you know the Muffin Man?
I used to back in the day as a kid. I don't know him anymore. Okay. But anyway, we've got a lot of things we can talk about. Certainly, coming up this week, we have 50 for 50 starting on Friday, right, Bubba?
Yeah, that'll kick off on Friday in a big way. We'll talk to East Carolina's all-time passing leader, Shane Carden. So it'll be nice to catch up with the captain, and then also
I'll be looking forward to hearing that, guys.
Yeah,
we'll hear. We've already recorded several of these other 50 Pirates, 50 days. And I know our listeners are going to really enjoy these interviews because the ones that we've recorded thus far have been excellent.
No doubt about it. And we're also working on the Sports Objective Watch Party. We have that coming up. And that'll be where we talk to actually watch games on YouTube with former Pirate players. We're putting all that together behind the scenes. And then, of course, we told you about the Friday morning football starting less than 2 weeks away on the 19th at Giddy Up Coffee House in Williamston every Friday morning from 8 until 10, working on that as well. Well, Bubba, I know you got to go in the movie, so... Hey,
what about the cruise, Dave? Is that off now?
No. I'm glad you said that. I'm trying to help Bubba out. Thank you, Kyle. The Sports Objective Pirate Cruise is coming up next year, the middle of July, and that's actually the 16th through the 20th. It's going to be out of Charleston, going to the Bahamas. Our good friend Dana Shrink, who is Dana's Global Travel, starting this week, we'll let you know, middle of the week, she'll be back, starting taking deposits. We have people all over Greenville and Pirate Nation that are chomping at the bit. They keep asking me. So the middle of this week, we'll start taking deposits.
My sister says she's going, Dave.
Awesome. Well, my sister and your sister will be going on the same cruise, so that's how Kyle and I know each other from back in the 80s, speaking the late 80s.
That's right.
So that's how we're connected. I think you were 8 and I was 16 the last time I saw you before we started the podcast. So,
correct.
And our life kind of went separate ways until I hear this guy on pirate radio, Kyle from LaGrange, and we got reconnected. So thank God we did. It was definitely well worth the wait, and glad we're reunited, and it feels so good, no doubt about it. And we're going to have that cruise. By the way, folks, just we'll give you more information the middle of the week as Dana's out in Colorado, and she won't be back until I think it's Wednesday. So we have I know John Gilbert guys on Wednesday, so we'll be putting that podcast out pretty soon, and we've got other great guests, right, Bubba, coming up?
That's right, Dave. We have Woody.
We have Woody, Buzz, Jesse,
exactly.
Bo Peep, Sporky. He's a new guy. One of the new characters is awesome in that movie. If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about, or the previews for sure. Kyle, you got to do your homework. At least see the first Toy Story before.
I have never seen any of them. It's one of those things that I don't have any kids, and the first one kind of came out at that time where I was
95.
Getting a little too old to want to watch children's movies. But
yeah.
I do understand they have mass appeal to everyone. So I do need to go back and watch them.
You actually will. I'm telling you will actually.
I'm sure I will. They have mass appeal. I understand that. They're not just for kids.
It's not just a normal everyday. The Pixar. That's when Pixar really came on strong. So. Anyway, we'll let Bubba go into the movie. He's chomping a bit to go into, obviously, to Toy Story 4 with Riley and Reese. Kyle from LaGrange, it's so great to hear your voice again. Great to be. I missed you guys this week doing this podcast. I know it sounds like odd, but we're so used to doing podcasts on a regular basis, so it's great to be back.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, for our great guest, Ramon Robinson, Erik Bakich, of course, Kyle from LaGrange Barber, and Bubba Rosenbaum in Toy Story 4. I'm Dave Richmond for the Sports Objective Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sports Objective Podcast. Join us next time as the guys will be objective, and the objective is sports.